What is up, Breakthrough Success listeners? Marc, the podcasting coach here. And when it comes to a business, a lot of people think about how do I get more clients? How do I get more sales? How do I grow? But we don't think about the foundation as much. So that's why in this episode, we're going to talk about how do we master your message for your brand. Our guest who joins us on this episode is a two-time best-selling author, international speaker, and founder of the Hiring Agency Academy and Interview Blueprint. He is also the founder of Cr8 Your Future and started the Cr8 Conference, which is a learning experience born from the intention of our purpose, which is to create a remarkable impact on the production and prosperity of the world. Our guest who joins us for this episode is none other than David Lee Jensen. David, welcome to the show.
Boom. Hello, Mark. How are you, man?
David, I am so happy to have you on Breakthrough Success. And thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're exercising right now, driving, or doing something else. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Mastering your message for your brand is what we are all about in this episode. So I'm wondering, to kick things off, if David, you could share with us a little bit on how do we figure out what that message is? Because I feel like we do so many different things that we don't have a clear message.
Yeah, absolutely. Cr8 Create is our kind of brand, create entrepreneurs. And to create your future is all about branding, all about messaging, all about marketing, all about, what truly, and I hate the little slogan, but at the end of the day, how are you going to give something of value to solve somebody's problem? And that's where you can then make, a monetization of your idea. So you're looking to master your message so that you can then exchange with somebody something of value. I think that's the most important.
And David brings up this, again, it's a really basic fundamental concept, but if you don't get these, or if you don't actively think about them, that is one of the big reasons people don't know what they're doing with their businesses. Like, it's just an exchange of value. When someone buys your book, it's an exchange of $3 for this content that has some type of promise. So it's really dialing in and figuring out what are the promises you are offering to your audience, and then framing a message around that promise. Now, with the growth people have with all the different options, like there's probably going to be a new cool hip side hustle thing in a few months, just because that's the way the web is moving, humanity in general. So how can we stay true to our message with the constant movement, with the constant, you need to be using Instagram and TikTok this time, then 2 years from now, the other social networks. So how do we stay consistent with our message with the constant evolution?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And if I had the answer, then I'd probably be like, Gary V, first in on Uber, first in on, TikTok, all these different apps. So that's a really hard predict. However, you do know what your own purpose is, what your own mission is, what your own message is, and you just have to be able to communicate it to others. And I think it's really a key of asking yourself core questions, things that revolve around, me, meaning like, who are you? Your purpose, or asking yourself, my purpose, what is my purpose, or why do I do what I do? And then developing the how, which then translates into your message. So it's me, who are you, what are you, purpose, what your purpose is, and why you do what you do, and then your message, how do you help others? Because if you can clearly communicate, I help others by blah, then that's the mastered message, because the way you're going to make value in exchange is by solving a problem for them. And if you don't clearly communicate with your message what problem you solve for them, then they're never going to want to monetize your services. So I really think that those are the core things is, who, what, how, right? Who are you?
And David brings up a great point where, all the platforms and tactics can change, but I feel like, with all the changing tactics, there could be this thought of continuous change where you start to lose who you are, and you're just chasing for something you feel like will give you that next big boost that can pull you away from what you're all about. And being like knowing what your purpose is the whole time allows you to like, have that anchor in place so that uh, when someone says, oh, you should do this, like you're still anchored to your purpose. You still know what it is that you want to do. And a lot of this is about solving problems, but part of mastering that messaging, as David said, is that ability to communicate how we solve our problems. So would you say there is a framework we can use to better establish to people quickly what it is that we solve?
Yeah, I think it's really important that you consider the, the time and attention span of somebody, the, language of somebody, the, like what I always do is I look at scenarios where someone may ask me what I do and how quickly can I answer it so that they fully understand. I'll give you a great example. So I have an online company, a virtual training called the Hiring Academy. And so people, and that was all based on a book I wrote called The Naked Interview, Hiring Without Regret. So people can understand, okay, good, this is something about, interviewing and hiring or what have you, but what is it you do with the Hiring Academy? Great. I teach business owners how to hire the right person the first time and every time. Boom. That's a message that I can get out just like that, and somebody can fully understand what I do. And I can extend it to say, I have an online virtual training which teaches business owners how to hire the right person the first time and every time by having an incredible interview process that's tailor-made to their business. Boom. So I've now extended that. It really depends on how much time, if you're in line shaking somebody's hand and you have, 10 seconds, you've got to have a consolidated message. If you're on an elevator with somebody and you've got a 1 minute, time frame to say, oh, and what is it you do? And you can explain yourself. That's where the whole term elevator pitch comes from. And wouldn't you be so lucky if you were on that elevator with Sir Richard Branson or Marcus Lemonis or Gary Vaynerchuk, right? You want to know that you can communicate your message in A to B fashion, not A, R, S, Q, Z. You want it to be really direct, just boom, boom, this is what I do. So then you go, wow, that's interesting. And now you'll continue a conversation if you've mastered your message. Otherwise, it'll just be lost in translation.
And David, it's not just one of those, I'm telling you what to do, but then I don't do it. David literally gave us his one-line pitch, and that's enough to get someone interested. Like hiring the person
the
right
right
the first
person
time,
the first time and every time.
That
go,
is,
wow, how do you do that? Literally, the next
yeah.
question is, how do you do that? Oh, we have an online virtual training and a 38-page workbook, and you go through it, and you actually, you'll watch a video by me where I'll explain some, core element of the hiring process. And then you're going to take notes and how does that apply to your business? So that by the time you're finished with the entire lineup of training, you've created a manual, which could be the documented hiring process for your individual business. Wow, where do I look to get that? You see, so you take it from the small instant message, which that's why it's so important to master your message, to then an actual pitch, which can convert into a sale. And not that it's all about money, but that's how you're going to serve people, because people see bright, shiny objects all day, every single day. And they never know exactly what's going to serve their business best. And in fact, the guy with the most brilliant marketing, but the crappiest actual product may be the worst, scenario, because you get totally sold on this amazing marketing, and then you go into the product and it's a piece of crap and it doesn't help you and you get jaded. So you got to make sure you have a great message and then back it up with an incredible ability to deliver value.
And I love how David just ran with that and told us like what he does, and like, because that's an example for what you should be doing. I mean, David just answered that on the spot. So it is like, in a way, dictating parts of the conversation where, David does his one-liner, then someone says, how do you do that? Like, that's a question that is, how do you do, like, that's something that
it's a
people
buying
naturally
question,
ask.
really.
Like, yeah, it gets someone in the frame of buying. It allows David to do a pitch, and it's a natural conversation. It's not like I come up to you and say, oh, I do podcast, YouTube, self-publishing, buy from me. That's not the mentality at all, the way that David presents it. So just having that one-liner.
And I'm sure, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because you have such the great example, and there is a difference between saying, oh yeah, I teach people how to hire right. Like there's no interest in asking a question, or you saying, yeah, I do podcasting, or I teach others how to podcast. There's no like continuation of the conversation. Whereas if you say, I help people break through to success by specifically tailoring their podcast presence with, with experts in their fields. Now somebody's going to go, there's just too much cool information there that they're not going to just go, well, thanks, bye. They're going to be like, oh, well, how do you do that? And then now you can really explain, oh, well, I position people, blah, blah, blah. And, you go through, I don't know exactly how you do that, but that gives you the opportunity to pitch, which, once again, money's not a bad thing. It's good to get exchange of money for a great service. And if you provide a great service, then people should know about it.
And that sounds just like a headline. Like it's thinking what is going to be, you could say 5 ways to get more Twitter followers, because that was a very basic type of article back when I was getting started. 5 ways to get more Twitter followers. Or you could say 5 ways to double your Twitter followers and get more clients from Twitter. So that's one of those, like, there's more meat on that bone than just saying 5 ways to get more Twitter followers. And I mean, it's just like, how do you come up with a like really attention grabbing headline / one-liner like that?
I think the key is surveying, right? Finding out what is, in fact, get a perfect example. Right now I'm doing this, we're planning this huge event, which launches in 29 days in Phoenix, Arizona. We've got 600 attendees. It's called Cr8 Conference, Cr8conference.com. So you're always promoting. And it's the Cr8 Your Future conference. And we have all these amazing speakers and what have you. But one of the keys is putting up posts that say, hey, what do you enjoy getting from a conference? What do you dislike about when you go to, an entrepreneur event? And really finding out, what do people like about events? What do people dislike about events? And one, ensuring them that they're going to get what they need, what they want, what they love about going to events. One of our key things about our event also comes up on the surveys, which is we are not a pitch fest, we are not a woo-woo, and we are not a, we're not a motivational weekend. Because I feel like the product of a motivational weekend is you get motivated for the weekend, right? We are more workshop style. We are more actionable steps towards expanding your business and creating your future. And that's why we came up with the Cr8 Your Future conference. We want to teach people how to be authors, speakers, coaches, online marketers. We've got podcasters. We've got influencers. Those are all going to give you information that you can literally leave the conference with your materials in hand and start at whatever your activity is. Hopefully you'll also be inspired and motivated and excited. But the key is that you'll be able to go out and do something. And I'm not just self-promoting here. That's the way to do it with your business as well. Find out not just what problem you solve, but no matter what problem people have, there's someone else out there offering a solution. Even if it's like mowing your lawn or trimming your hedges, right? There's 100 different gardening services. Good. But you have things you like about gardening services and things you dislike about, gardening services. And so you've got to go out and survey what are those things so that then you can differentiate yourself from the pack and be the best gardening service there is.
And I mean, David just keeps on bringing fascinating things. I mean,
you said we were going to talk about message, man. I love it. I love it. I love it.
You're doing it. You even got your conference in there, which will be in the show notes for people who do want to check it out, whether this year is a fit, next year is a fit. But I mean, for people who want to learn more about you, follow your journey, where are some good places for us to go?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is, the current, like you said, it goes from Instagram to TikTok to whatever. I'm not on TikTok, okay? I reserved my handle, but that's all because I'm not 12 years old. But no, I'm kidding. That's what the old guys like me say. Yeah, when a new platform comes out, we're like, no, no. I remember saying that about Twitter, and look at it now, right?
Mm.
But anyways, at David Lee Jensen on Instagram kind of leads to all portals. And obviously I have davidleejensen.com, and that leads to the different ventures I have of the Hiring Academy, and most recently the Cr8 Your Future conference, because I really, I went through business helping people learn how to hire right, and then helping students and transitioning military learn how to interview and get hired. So kind of interviewing from both sides of the desk. But really the success in it was not just, helping others with value in those skills. It was building an entrepreneurial company. Like I quit a day job, a 6-figure executive of a big banking firm to become an entrepreneur. And, there were a lot of times that I fell on my face and then got back up and then fell again and got back up until the point where it became a stable, lucrative business. And I was like, wow, I really want this for others. I see others looking like I was 10 years ago, suffering just punching a clock for someone else. So what can I do to help others become entrepreneurs? And, that was a message that needed to be mastered to others. Boom, tied that right in.
We are in full circle on this episode, and you can see how David's purpose really manifested itself into that event, which will be in the show notes for everyone who wants to check it out. David, once again, though, thank you so much for joining us all on Breakthrough Success. It was a pleasure having you here today.
Thanks, Mark. I hope everybody gets some value from it and can expand their brand by mastering their message.